Today I've had a request to make a dessert, and to be honest, I am not much of a baker. I do 2 desserts and I do them well. One of them is a homemade from scratch chocolate cake. And what you will need is room temperature butter, some bowls, some kind of sifter, a spatula, vegetable oil, sugar, all-purpose flour, unsweetened cocoa powder, room temperature buttermilk, salt, measuring spoons, measuring cups, 1 cup of brewed coffee. It can be instant or just leftover from your morning coffee. Icing. I'm showing this icing, but we are going to make our own homemade buttercream icing, but I've used this in the past. It's just fine. 2 jumbo eggs at room temperature, vanilla extract, baking soda, baking powder, a mixer, wax paper or parchment paper, and a 8-inch cake pan. Let's get started. Okay, like I stated earlier, I am not much of a baker. So I only have 1 8-inch cake pan. In an ideal situation, you need 2, but it doesn't really matter if you only have 1 because you can bake 1 cake at a time. First, what we need to do though is prep the pan. And what we have to do is butter it, flour it, and line it. So first of all, I'm going to take the pan, put it on top, take a pencil, and just trace around it. That way I have a template of where to cut. I don't know if you can see the template or not, but I can. So then I take another piece of parchment paper, put it on top, and just follow my pattern and cut out two layers of the parchment. When I have that done, I'll be back. Okay, I have my 2 circles cut out. I'm gonna put 1 to the side for my next cake. I have a napkin with butter on it. So I'm just gonna butter the pan. And this is all to keep the cake from sticking to inside the pan. I'm just gonna take maybe a tablespoon of butter, not even, or flour, not even that much. And take it and move it around the pan. Just so the bottom is covered and the sides are covered. See? Baking is messy, so if you wind up with a mess all over your counter, it's fine. All over yourself, it's fine. Now that's completely buttered and floured. So you take your parchment and you put it down in there and you butter that too. Just as much as you can, lightly, it's fine. Okay. That's done. We'll put it to the side. Next, we will get our bowl to start measuring out our dry ingredients. I'll be back when I have it ready. The first thing we need to measure out is 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And I need to stress that all of your ingredients need to be at room temperature. When you're measuring, use the flat side of a butter knife to just scoop that off. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it into our little sifter because it has to be sifted. Here's our 3/4 of a cup. Move this out of the way. And what it means to sift is just to take it through a sifter. Now they do make sifters. I don't have one. I don't really see the point in buying one. I don't bake a lot, like I said. So this little colander strainer works just fine for me. And it's just lightening the flour. It's putting some air into the flour and making sure that there aren't any big lumps. And if you find any lumps at the bottom, just push them through. Okay. Our next dry ingredient is 2 cups of sugar. supposed to sift the sugar, but I don't because I find it hard to sift. So I'm just gonna measure it out. And just put it right there. There's 2 cups. Okay. And that to the side. And the next dry ingredient I need is 3/4 cup baking unsweetened cocoa. Now this is where it gets super messy. This is my 3/4 because this kind of comes out in clumps. So I'm gonna measure it over the bowl. And I will sift this because it, like I said, it does come out kind of clumpy. Oops. Let's see. Nope, a little more. That should do it. And if you get a little more cocoa in there, I'm not gonna cry. Okay, let's go ahead and sift that. Like I said, sifting is nothing more than just putting air through it to make it lighter. And there's some little lumps, so I'm just going to push those through. Okay, put this to the side. Next dry ingredient would be 2 teaspoons of baking soda. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. It's baking powder, we need baking soda. Go ahead and always check your ingredients, your recipe, because baking is really a science. Where I don't think cooking so much is a science. Baking is a science. You have to go precisely. So here is 1 teaspoon baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Put that to the side. Our next ingredient is baking powder. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And we need 1 teaspoon of salt. Salt always helps with sugar. Now what we're going to do is sift those last little ingredients. Take our mixer to it and just mix it up on low, just to give it a quick mix. Get ready to put our wet ingredients together, and when I have that ready, I'll be back. Okay, now it's time to put our wet ingredients together. In the bowl, I have 1 cup of room temperature buttermilk. I'm going to add our 2 jumbo eggs. Half a cup of vegetable oil. Check and make sure that says half a cup. It does. I think there's about a half a cup left in here. Half a cup of vegetable oil. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Remember, we still have our coffee over here, and that will come in a few minutes. I always overdo it on the vanilla, but that's okay. It tastes good. While you're doing this, go ahead and get your oven preheating to 350. Let's see, I'm checking my recipe to make sure I have all of the wet ingredients I need at this point, and I do. So what I'm gonna do is blend this up, start out on low, and when this comes together, I am going to start adding the dry ingredients. When I get to that point, I'll be back. Okay, I now have our wet ingredients combined, and I have brought there's my oven. It's ready to go. I have brought the dry ingredients over, and what we're gonna do is with the mixer on low, we are slowly gonna add the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. So here we go. We're gonna mix this up until this is completely mixed. And I'll be back when it's done. Okay, we are now blended to that part. So I'm going to take this and move it to the side. What I'm going to try and do is scrape down my edges because there is ingredients around the side and I want to get down to the bottom of it. Yummy cake batter in here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is add the room temperature coffee. The coffee really brings out the chocolate flavor. And it's kind of weird because the coffee's bitter, the chocolate's sweet, but it really brings it out. Just like the salt brings out the sugar flavor. I'm going to start on low again, get this mixed up, and I'll be back. Okay, my ingredients have come together in my bowl. Now, the first time I made this, the batter came out so liquidy, I thought, oh no, I've messed this up. This is a very liquidy batter. It's supposed to be that way, I promise. If you do like a cake mix, those are way more thick than this. So, like I said, when I first made it, I did freak out and thought that I had ruined it. It's not ruined, it's supposed to be like this. What I'm going to try and do, because I don't have 2 cake pans, I'm going to try and eyeball half now into this pan, and then when this pan comes out, put the rest in and bake it again. So let's see if I can do that. One of my cakes always winds up being bigger than the other one, so it's not going to really upset me. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Like I said, one of my cakes always comes out a little bit bigger or more lopsided than the other one, and I'm okay with that. Just to me, it makes it look more homemade. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven, and I'll be back when I'm ready to do that.